Hi, I'm Dr. Lisa Thompson of drlisamthompson.com, and I have a question for you. Have you heard of the Fyre Festival? Well, if you have, and you heard about what happened there, it is a great lesson for home business entrepreneurs about what not to do with marketing. Now, if you're not familiar with it, or you are, there are two documentaries out, one on Hulu called Fyre Fraud, and then there's one on Netflix called The Greatest Party That Never Happened. I highly recommend that you watch both. They're each about an hour and a half as far as the documentary. And both really break down what happened as far as what happened with the Fyre Festival. And also it really gives, especially the Hulu one, it really gives you a glimpse into the mindset of the millennials. Especially if you're marketing to millennials, you're really going to understand what happened there. So what I want to do is talk about what were some of the good things that happened with the Fyre Festival and where it went wrong and the lessons that we learn along the way. Now, before we get into what went good and what went bad, let's give a little brief overview of the Fyre Festival. Now, the Fyre Festival was the brainchild of Billy McFarland and rapper Ja Rule. And what they wanted to do is, it wasn't the festival, that was kind of like a byproduct of an idea where they wanted to promote an app called the Fyre app, which would be a way for people to book celebrities, book DJs, celebrity entertainment, and really targeting the millennials, people who've had money, okay? And so that's who they were looking to target. So what happened was, as they were thinking of ways of how can we promote the launch of this app, it came up with the idea, well, let's do a festival. Let's do a music festival down in the Bahamas. So they went down, they supposedly purchased an island, okay, that was Pablo Escobar's, the famous late drug kingpin, and that was his island, and they thought if they can bring people down, big acts, they can create a real luxury experience. And so they had a real popular social media campaign as far as how to leverage the influencers of the millennials, specifically Bella Hadid, Kylie Jenner, Kendall Jenner, to name a few. And they also did this very sleek promotional video about Fyre Festival. And so what happened was, it was such a successful promotion on Instagram and other forms of social media that, they had the whole event was sold out very quickly. And they were promised luxury accommodations, luxury food, hobnobbing with celebrities, hobnobbing with the music acts, creating this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Well, it turned out that after they made that plan and they did that promotion, it all went downhill. And to make the long story short, no act showed up. When the people did show up to the island, they were put into FEMA tents, okay? There was no running water. The food that was promised that was gourmet, it was, just like this wilted cheese sandwich, which looked like was sitting like a school lunch. So it really was unappealing. People were having a hard time getting off their flights. They were stuck on the island, no food, no water, and eventually they canceled it, and those who bought tickets wound up suing Billy McFarland, and now he has been arrested because he did some other shady things with regarding the promotion of the event, as well as with past dealings, and now he is in prison. So what can we learn about this? Now, here's the good thing about that I saw after watching the Fyre Festival. Now, I'll admit, this was the first time that I heard of it because I don't watch the news anymore. So I wasn't really all up to date on it. But as I watched these documentaries, the one thing that really stood out is that, with Billy being a millennial, okay, he really knew his audience of millennials. Okay, so that's one of the first things when you're an entrepreneur. You need to know your market. Okay, who is your audience? He was targeting the millennials. He knew that millennials had short attention spans. He knew that millennials, okay, they are kind of boxed in right now. Their big frustration is they went to school, they've got a lot of student loan debt, they can't find the job that they went to school for, and a lot of them are living at home in their parents' basements, working at jobs as baristas in Starbucks or some other companies, and they're leading an unfulfilled life. And he wanted, what they were craving was experience and tapping in on the biggest fear called FOMO, the fear of missing out. Okay, the fear of missing out. So when he created he brought in people and they did this campaign, it was very, very successful and effective. And what they did for a campaign, the social media marketing firm they hired was very clever, where they knew that there was a lot, when people scroll, they have short attention spans. And if they see the same images over and over, they are going to just turn a blind eye. So the way they got people's attention first is, now this is where they got a little shady, where they actually paid the influencers to market this. So they went in and all they did was like a red square, or orange square, excuse me, and then something with the word #Fyre Festival. And so all of a sudden, you have this millennial, they're scrolling through their Instagram feed and they're seeing their influencers like Kendall Jenner and Bella Hadid and some of these other millennial stars and influencers are all, sharing this image. It's making people stop because orange is a bright color and it stops you in your feed. Okay, so that part was effective. And then they went in and then they created a video. Okay, they knew that video, is one of the best ways to, once you got people's attention, to really connect with their audience. And so they went out, found the top models like Bella Hadid and some of these other big Victoria's Secret models that are the millennial generation, brought them out, and they did this big promotional video. And it touched again on all the pain points. Okay? And so that was highly, highly effective. So that shows the power of social media marketing and influencer marketing. So as a marketer and home business owner, what you need to do is find out who are your influencers. Who are the big leaders and people of influence in your niche? Now, you're not going to pay them to do things for you, but one way you can do is go into YouTube, find out, how big their subscriber base is. If they have a big YouTube channel, they're an influencer. Check out their Instagram. Check out their Twitter. What hashtags are they using? And then just start commenting on content that you find interesting that resonates with you. Okay? And then you can start developing a relationship. Now, if you're someone in the home business space and you've got a leader or an influencer that you like, that they're teaching a really great marketing tip or strategy, use their strategy, get a result, and take them in the post. Okay, that's how you're going to get on their radar. Okay, so that is an example of using social media marketing and doing it effectively, and doing video. Now, here's where they went wrong. Okay, now what Billy did is he wanted to, when he brought up the idea of how to promote this, doing a, this type of Fyre Festival, okay, when they were floating the idea around, he had his team around them, and one of them said, let's just do this little festival for a small segment of people. Just bring the influencers in, and the artists, and we start doing that, and then we can scale it. But Billy didn't listen to them. So they went all in, and then they made the mistake of understanding the logistics, okay? They wanted this to be for 10,000 people on an island and to do it in 6 months. And for most event planners, what they were telling them was there's no way that can be done in 6 months to plan a big festival like that. It takes about a year to do that. So they weren't listening to the advice of other people on his team that are saying, hey, you got to slow down, you've got to scale. Okay, so what does that mean for us as an entrepreneur? Well, if you're doing something like Facebook advertising to get leads, what you need to do first is, number one, you need to make sure that you're reading the Facebook guidelines so that you are aware of, you know, the rules Facebook has. They have very specific rules, and a lot of times home business owners don't abide by those rules and they wind up getting their ad account shut down. What they also tend to do too is they tend to not test. They don't scale. They don't start small. So you may want to start with just a $5 ad, find a mentor, okay, who's good at Facebook ads, and work with them on what type of ad you should create to build an audience, okay? You know, because the purpose of advertising is to spend more money. So, in what Billy did, they totally missed the boat on that with the timing. The other mistake that he did is that when things started going bad, he didn't pivot and really be truthful with his audience when he knew that things weren't turning out. Okay? When things weren't, you know, timelines weren't being met, you know, like with any big event, you know, you've got to plan for anything that can go wrong will go wrong. You have to plan for those types of things that can happen. And he wasn't really paying attention to that. And so when things go wrong, you've got to be able to pivot, and you've got to be able to communicate with your customers if things aren't going the way they are. Okay, it's better to be upfront and transparent, and he didn't. As they got closer to the date, nobody was listening. And people were getting, you know, customers were like, hey, we don't know what we're supposed to be doing. Do we have no accommodations? And see, in that poor planning, they picked a date where at the same time there was another big event happening on the island that is almost like the equivalent of the Super Bowl up here in the United States. So accommodations for these luxury villas that they were promising wasn't happening, okay? And they had to scramble and find other accommodations. They weren't also taking into account weather, okay? And they weren't taking into account some of the other things that they were promising. So when you're looking at a promotion, like with your business, you've got to be looking at, you know, have a big goal. Absolutely have a really big goal. But you have to reverse engineer it so that it's something that you can do that's manageable. And Billy did not reverse engineer planning an event like that. And so when he went all in, I mean, you got to applaud him. He was really kind of what Grant Cardone would say would be 10x going all in to really provide a unique experience for millennials. He didn't plan the logistics, and then he wound up, if things just started to spiral and spiral and spiral. And then what made him land into hot water is that he did some shady dealings with money. So that's the other part. But this is a real fascinating documentary to watch. I highly recommend that you do it because it's really going to give you a lesson in what not to do, in the power of what influencer marketing is all about. You know, and it also speaks to being genuine. So if you mess up, and I've seen a lot of my mentors when mistakes have happened on launches, you know, they're up front. And then what they do is that if something happens out of the blue, They don't panic. They're going to pivot, point to a solution, and find a way to satisfy the customer's concerns. They're going to go out of the way to serving the customer, not looking to, grab the money and run. So I hope you got value from this today. If you did, leave a comment and share. And I have a great newsletter that if you, where I share more tips and strategies of things that I'm learning on my entrepreneurial journey on how you can build a full-time income, working part-time, utilizing basic tools, tips, and strategies. If you want to be on my email newsletter, all you have to do is go to www.workwithdrlisathompson.com and just give me your best email address, and I'll send the information over to you. And then to make sure you're following me on Facebook and Twitter, okay? And I appreciate every single one of you, and make sure you join me tomorrow for another video. Take care, guys.